And welcome everyone to this price ladder analysis example, where I'm going to be going through a breakout example. I haven't done one of these in a while, so let's take a look at what we're going to be looking at in this little session. So specifically, we're looking at an open drive breakout that is in the Bund futures, my favorite of all market. And the date of that breakout is on the 2nd of November 2015. So if you guys do want to go back and check this out, you can see this. It's between 8 and 9 o'clock a.m. London time. So the context, just to give you guys a little bit of a context of what happened, we kind of opened up at around 157.44, 45, and basically had a straight line move to the downside. So this was our initial move in the initial balance. It was quite an aggressive move to the downside. And we're going to be currently looking at the price action in this little area in here as we open up during the cash open at around 8:15, I believe, a.m. So just bear in mind, we've already had a move to the downside, as you can see, just from the ladder. Just from the ladder in here, you could see the high of the day at 157.44 and what we currently see the low at 157.11s. So just bear with me. There's going to be some fairly quick price action for those of you that remember this day. I specifically wanted to go through this because the flow was really quite heavy and really strong and readable. So hopefully we'll make something of it and learn in the process. So let's just get this replay started. Okay, so as we can see here, we're trading 157.13s. Currently, low of the day, as we said, 157.11s. Just to bear in mind, and something that's quite important, the levels that we're keeping an eye on to the downside are 157.03s is our value area low, so weekly value area low, the week. And then we have our 156.96, which is the previous, so yesterday's low. So those are the two levels we're looking at specifically. If you guys don't have a chart and you don't know what I'm looking at the minute. So this is what we're currently looking at. We're just taken out through the low at 157.11s. And like I said, we've got this pretty long tail to the upside. And the market's seemingly quite heavy. This is a Monday morning. And the market's come out. We've seen a bit of news also out of regarding Draghi and potentially a bit of a pullback on what they were saying regarding QE. So there's a bit of a flow in the market. Also some news stories regarding China selling bunds, so that might be why we're seeing such heavy flow at the minute. So let's just keep an eye on how the market reacts around these key areas in here. So we're currently trading 157.10s, offered 157.10s actually. Someone's trying to take this bid at 157.10s. You can see already we're getting some indications that someone's sitting quite heavily on the offer here. Every time someone tries to go bid or lifted bid at 157.10s, someone keeps reloading the offer. So the first facet here we can see is reloading of the offer. That's something that we need to pay attention to closely because that could play out throughout the move here. So let's see how this market interacts. If we can stay offered at 10s, and then potentially we get a big clip, take out 9s, we might want to start interacting here. We've just gone bid 10s, trading 11s here. About 27 contracts just traded into 11s. We've just gone bid 11s, traded 12s. So that seller might have stepped back just for a second here. We want to keep an eye on this guy because he might step back into the market. And when he steps back into the market, it seems like he's got quite a bit of business to do. You can see how many contracts he traded there. We're just going bid on a little bit more size on the bid here, and it's offering the buyers are offering a little bit more size here. So if the seller can take them out, and that's what we just saw, the seller's just taking out a large chunk of 157.12s, we want to interact in front of him because essentially, we know now there's an aggressive seller at 12s. He's just come in 12s and 11s. He's just taken the market offered, And if we can stay with him, we can just play with a little bit of this flow to the downside. You could see the offers have gotten a little bit heavier at 157.12s. 400 lots just stepped in. 200 lots at 11 and 10s. If we can keep reloading and holding this offer, maybe we can start, a move down towards that value area low of the week at 157.3s. So what I'm going to do is put in my 5 lot to scale out at 157.03s. I don't know whether it's going to go through or not, but it's good practice to keep, your bids and offers in the areas where you feel as if you should get out. In fact, I'll probably front run the level because you don't want to be bidding just at the level. Currently, we're trading 157.10s. We've only gone through that previous low by 2 ticks, so not much really here. So let's just see if we can, if the price action starts to speed up a bit as we take these 09s. If we take these 09s, we're expecting maybe a little bit more excess flow through the low that could potentially take us down to these 157.03s. So currently, gone back big at 11s. Our risk on this trade, essentially, we don't want to see it get back above 12s. If we're bid 12s, trading 13s, I'm hovering over the bid and I'm looking to get out quite quickly because, my motto here, if you're trading aggressively, so if you're aggressive in, you need to be aggressive out. That's just how it works, guys. If you're passive in, you can afford to be passive out. If you're aggressive in, you need to be aggressive, just as aggressive to get out. And this is purely flow driven trading here. I'm not looking, most traders will find it quite uncomfortable to sell into the lows of the day. It's not the best practice. In general, trade location's horrible. However, if you see the flow and you can see the price action dynamics, you can play with that and trade with that in your favor. So I haven't been put under any sort of heat yet. It's trading at my price. Didn't go bid my price. We've just gone offered at 09s. So let's just see if we can get a bit of flow. We've got 300 lot at 07s, 400 lot at 06s. That's going to be basically the floor we need to take out to test these threes. We've just taken that out fairly. Well, the 7s at least we've just taken out now fairly easily, and the 6s have kind of evaporated. So that those bids are not quite looking like they're all that genuine at the minute. It seems as if as we traded into them, they got taken out rather easily. So that's something I'm keeping in the bank of my brain, saying, okay, well, where are these bids gone? Why have they vanished so quickly when these sellers have stepped into the market? That's not particularly boding too well for this value area, weekly value area low to hold. But in any case, we'll scale out our 5 lots if we can get filled here at 04s. We've just gotten filled at 04s. Let's see how the market reacts at around these 3s and 2s. If we can see someone clip some size bid, we'll try and take actually the full position off here. We'll take the full position off here, which we're not getting filled on. Try and take our full position off here at 5s. We've just seen a reaction, some sort of reaction. We've just gotten filled on those 5s. We've seen some sort of auctioning off of this level, so we don't really want to play against the weekly value area low. That's an area that could potentially be good, some decent support. But what I'm keeping in the back of my head now is that at 06s, again, just like we saw before, note, 06s, we cannot go bid. We're seeing reloading. So every time someone lifts the offer, we're just seeing someone sell back into it and reload, add more contracts to the offer there. So that's already a sign that potentially the seller stepping in lower. The seller that we saw step in higher at 12s might be stepping in a little bit lower now and selling, aggressively at 05s and 06s here. So what we want to be paying attention to now is how the market reacts around this weekly value area low. If we can start going offered on decent size, well, then maybe we might be seeing a move. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but a big bid just showed up at 157.05s just in there, and he vanished. Now, the fact that he's come in and vanished probably means he's not really, it's not an integrity bid. He could be spoofing. So I'm already asking myself the question, is this guy spoofing? Because he's come on, he's flashed his bid, and he's flashed it back out again. Now we're seeing another 1,000 lot at 04s. So now we're seeing potential layering. Now I need to pay attention to what the offers are doing just in front of that. He's just vanished. If this market can actually take 05s and take it offered, I'm going to actually sell because decent size at 05s that they can clip into 05s and take it offered on selling in front of that, because for me, he's just layered the market, fooled some people into buying at market, and now he's going to try and drive it through these lows here. As you can see, we've just gone offered through those 03s. It's potentially some flow to be had, so long as we can start making our way to that previous low of the day at 156.06. So we're not really seeing, we didn't get much heat on that. That was almost instantaneous. We've gone, 2-3 ticks on side. Let's just see how this reacts around this double O region. As we can see, we've got a little bit of size stacked up at 157, 01s, and double O's. We want to see some big clips come through here to actually give them a problem. Look at 02s and 03s here. They're actually trying to, pump up their chest a bit here against these bigger bids and see what these bids are actually made of. And we've just taken an 01 out pretty quickly, and if we could take out these double O's, I think I could see these 96s coming pretty quickly. So we're going to try and scale at 97s, see how the market reacts as we get down to that area. If we need to get out, or if we need to get out fully or add more to it. Look how it's just taking out these 96s. 96s have literally just melted. There was no buying reaction. We've seen it's just gone bid now, but it seems it's staying offered a little bit too easy for me. So we might actually want to get back into this trade, get a little bit more size back on, because it seems as if the market's not able to actually hold it bid at all. There's no auctioning. If this was a market that wanted to go bid, it would auction off of these prices, show some sort of fight, but the sellers are fully in control here. Remember, when we're reading this price action, guys, we want to see who's in control of the move. Look how we're doing more contracts at 94s than we did at 95s. That's not a good indication that this is the low of the day yet. So there's some serious selling. If we can start clipping some decent size, I might actually get a little bit more aggressive into these lows here. So we've seen some stacking 95s and 96s, some decent size. That's just kind of vanished at the minute. Let's just see if we can stack a little bit more size and clip at market. When we see big clips, we've just seen a big blip to the downside. As a rule of thumb, I always cover into big blips. But notice, as we said, no one could hold that market bid at that price, and then as soon as someone came in with some decent size, you saw really extended blip from around these 94s, 95s down to these 87s, 88s. General rule of thumb, into any blip, I always cover. Whether this is going to continue trending to the downside or not, I always look to cover into blips, because the market's probably just overreacted on someone having to get out of their position. So you could see, what's interesting in that is you could see before, specifically, and I'm just going to highlight now because we're out of the trade, and this is probably going to continue lower, as we can see some really nice flow coming into the market. Look at how aggressive this market price action is. It's very aggressive. We couldn't even, usually on a blip to the downside of that nature, you could at least retrace 5 or 6 ticks, or at least come to the area in which it started from, but it couldn't even hold a bid on that occasion. So someone's seriously got to get out of a position. Now, let's just highlight some of the observations we've had over this price action video. So some of the observations. So first and foremost, we saw before the break. So before break, we saw reloading. That's one thing. Then we also saw spoofing / layering. And really, this was your indication that potentially the large player needing to get short, either get short or get out of longs. So he's basically showing you his hand there. If someone's spoofing in that nature at the lows of the day, and you're seeing reloading above where he's spoofing, he's just trying to game people into lifting the offer, his offer essentially. He sits on the offer while people lift him, and he's just reloading and adding more size. So just, bear these things in mind. So we saw that. We saw before the break, we saw reloading, and then we saw at 96s could not go bid. So it could not go bid. Seller steps in and blips lower. So from a flow perspective, these are the main things I wanted to highlight. Obviously, if I ran this video for another 15 minutes, you will notice that it just keeps trending and it moves down to about 58s, I believe. In the short term, we get that low. But I'm not going to run it for that long because I usually like to keep these videos between 10 and 15 minutes. But the main observations that we saw here, guys, remember, before a break, if we're breaking out, we want to see volume. We want to see flow. We want to see conviction. We want to see big clips. Now, if you remember correctly, back when we were trading up at around this region, up in here, before we even broke, around this region in here, so between these 12s and 6s area, this is where we saw reloading. This is where we saw big sell clips. And the one notable sell clip that I saw was that 244 lot at market. Someone that's selling that much size at market on a single clip, he's basically, that was whatever was on the bid. That's what you call a sweep. He just sweeped the whole bid out and took it. He said, I'll have that. He didn't want to cause an excess reaction. He wasn't taking out a few prices. He just took that one whole price out. He saw the liquidity and took it. When you see those kind of price action dynamics, stay tuned to it because that's an indication. There's a big seller there. You want to play with that seller, trade with him. Okay, so that's basically what I want to show you guys for this open drive setup and breakout example. Thanks very much for listening and stay tuned for more. Bye bye for now.